What do you understand by leadership? What does leadership mean to you? Well, leadership for me is above all about the inner guidance. So, what I find very exciting, and I only discovered this myself on my path through life, also through all these coaching sessions, which I came to more or less like the virgin to the child, is that leadership is actually not outside but inside. So, what I do, and I only discovered this after a while through my own work, when I ask myself, why do people come? What do I actually do? Is that I lead people to their own inner guidance so that they find the outer voice through the inner voice, through perception and coherence with the inner voice. You once said that it is dangerous to come to you. What makes your work so dangerous? So that one has to be afraid. Well, you don't have to be afraid. You have to be a little brave, I think. Not only singers come to me, but people who are on stage in general. And what happens, talking about danger, and that can happen in a seminar, but also in individual coaching, that people suddenly are more in touch with who they are. And I lead them so that they simply recognize, like in a mirror, what is actually right for me, what is true. And in that moment, I simply experience quite sometimes that people suddenly said, because something broke through when they came close to that innermost, what am I actually doing in this band? What am I actually doing in this job? And what am I actually doing in this marriage? Well, in the worst case. For me, this coaching of voice and innermost coherence as to resonate to who you really are, that has to do with the inside and outside. It's more than just saying I do a bit of vocal exercises. For me, I always say that it has to do with the whole person in a holistic way, and that's also the exciting thing for me. It's always this research. How can I be authentic? How can I be free? How can I be real? How can I be what I know and express it in this life and bring it into form? And it doesn't matter if you are young or old or a manager. Then something leads by itself, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. Look, at this point you do this or that. No, nothing artificial. It just comes naturally. You can also structure and choreograph it, but it is about this basis of naturalness. And that's the same in voice training. I always say it's surprising what you are discovering then. So you come to me, perhaps another aspect that is dangerous, and you don't know what you will find. My path in life has always been a bit cross or upside down, and I didn't have any music at school, for example, or only very little. Music education, which in German corresponds more to a translation which says pulling at you. It's actually an interesting word. I never thought about that before. So I had no music, or I quickly chose to not have it any longer. Because then I realized that I did not find there what music is for me in the deep. All I found there was not what I knew inside. I never had guidelines in the sense of you will become this or that, you have to believe this or that, this is right or this is wrong. And for me, that has always been groundless and insecure in terms of feeling. But in the end, I always had to search within myself. I would always say that I'm a vocal researcher and have a huge box of possibilities. I know a lot of methods. I work with the so-called breathing types, Kristen Linklater's technique, if anyone is to know that, with many things, including functional voice training, so that I find myself having a little bit of a hard time to focus on only one method. That is to say, to reduce it to so little and to choose only this or only that. For me, that does not represent life. I am someone who finds these combinations and correlations simply so exciting. Well, and as a coach, you are also someone who brings a different perspective, because I can only look out of my own eyes. Well, I remember when I sang at the Gospel Award, for example, on a huge stage, and someone worked with the artists beforehand, accompanied them and so on, and did what I actually do. And that was totally exciting for me, because usually I am the coach and the performance, let's say, accompanist. I then also share my experiences in my coaching. All right, how do I make myself not only independent, but how do I maybe also build the bridge from a steady job into being an entrepreneur or freelance artist? How do things work, like ASCAP, collecting societies of performance rights, everything that belongs to these things around the artistic work field? Or how do I lead my band? How do I communicate and so on? And then the technician is there. We practice proper handling of sound check because often the artists don't dare to do that in front of the technicians, or they don't manage to do it well as to support their own performance. Often they don't understand the perspective of the technician. So I am someone who likes to build bridges. Everyone is welcome, as I said. I had people from children to adults, from professional musicians to speakers. And by the way, that was always the great thing. I think you also experienced that. We had so many colorful people in the seminars, really, who would never have met in normal life. And in the end, that always touched me so much. They were all one. There was never a competition because if everyone is real, if we are all free, that is also my vision for the world, and are in contact with our inner guidance, then there is no tension. Then everything is a field where you inspire each other, support, and add to each other. And I think we are just so many different flowers. All of us have such a different thread from the soul in our being. Quiet is here in a larger sense, in a spiritual sense, don't we? And that shines through every person. And maybe I have a certain view to see that in people. It's like breath. It's inhale and exhale. It's becoming and passing away, which is actually much closer to our nature. And that's where I try to lead back to somehow. That's a beautiful sentence. Music expresses that which cannot be said.